Okay, welcome to the May 28th Mountain Mobility Working Group. Thank you all for attending today. We have a really interesting presentation today, which I think we're all looking forward to. We've all been working towards the volunteer driver program for a few years now, but we'll go ahead and get started with introductions. So I'll go ahead and call on everybody just as I see you in the chat. So just introduce yourself, your organization, and what's your favorite form of relaxation. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Bob.
I'm Bob. I work for Via Mobility. My boss is on here also. Her name is Lisa Bitzer. Um, I run the bus program pretty much. Get buses distributed where they need to be. And I really enjoy walking.
That's a good one. Yeah. Great. Lisa, I see you next on my screen.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Director of Operations here at Via Mobility Services. And my favorite form of relaxation is being with my dogs and my husband.
Oh, that's nice. Paul, I see you next.
Hi, everybody. Paul Karnikowski, Boulder County Transit Program Manager. Bob took mine, so I'll have to go to my other favorite, which is a beach in Jamaica for a week.
That sounds good. That's a good relaxation trip.
It works.
Yeah. Tom, I see you next on my screen.
Okay, Tom Mahold. I'm up in Netherlands. I chair the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services Alliance and the Netherlands Food Pantry. Recently retired, so I'm doing a lot of travel. But I'm with Bob. When you live in a place like Netherlands, you back up to a national forest and you can step out, even if it's snowing. There's no reason to stay inside.
That's great. Yeah. Natalie? Sorry, you switched on my screen.
Hi there. No, I got it. Hold on. I do have my. I am here. So I'm not going to have those. I'm the lead or senior service planner scheduler for RTD's what's called North Team within Service Development. Anything fixed route related, pretty much north of I-70, roughly within the RTD. That's me. Relaxation, which I will need this afternoon still since I haven't done it, is to go work out, usually run or hike or bike or do something outdoors because yes, we live in Estes just because of that.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Grace?
Thanks, Angel. Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Gude. I am the Volunteer Driver Program Coordinator. We'll be telling y'all more about that here in a little while. And I would agree with a lot of people here. I think being active outside is my favorite way to relax.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nick?
Hey everyone, Nick Aguilera, a long-range transportation planner with Boulder County. Good to see you all. I would say also movement, my favorite usually being bicycling, followed by like tasty food and a long nap.
That's great. Thanks. Reba?
Everyone, Reba Mitchell, the Executive Director with Netherlands Area Seniors, and I as well enjoy being in nature for my relaxing.
Wonderful. Rocio, we're basically saying our name, our organization, and what our favorite form of relaxation is.
Okay, perfect. I'm Rocio Ramirez. I'm a transportation planner at Felsberville and Nulevik, working with Grace on the volunteer driver program. And my favorite form of relaxation is camping, and I have my first trip in 2 weeks, so I'm really excited.
Oh, nice. Where are you going?
We usually go kind of near Georgetown, and it's always the same area. So excited to get back out there.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Last but not least, Joni.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joni Lynch. I'm in Longmont. I'm the Family Resource Director at the Hour Center. I am a former mountain resident in Gold Hill. And my favorite form of relaxation is laughing, comedy. We tape all the late night shows and we watch them like the next evening after work because we can't stay up that late. My husband and I. And I just came back from a vacation, and 2 weeks ago, tomorrow night, we were in the live audience in New York City for the Stephen Colbert show. So that was really a lot of fun. But yeah, laughing at anything and everything. That's my form of relaxation. Thanks.
That's great. I love it. Well, I'm Angel Bond. I'm the Mobility for All Program Manager, and I'm facilitating this meeting in place of Jessica today. And I think my favorite form of relaxation, I like walking, I like comedy, all that, but I recently planted some native flowers and everything in my backyard to replace my lawn. So recently I've been just hanging out in my back lawn weeding for fun. So go ahead and give that one as an example. Well, thank you all for sharing. I will send out these notes after the meeting, but most of this meeting will actually just be Grace and Rocio giving a presentation on the volunteer driver program update. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to them. I'm not sure which one of you wants to take the lead.
Yeah, I can share my screen. We have a PowerPoint ready to go. I don't work with Zoom a lot, so this might be a little painful for you all, and I'm sorry. But can you all see the PowerPoint?
We do.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. Great. So Grace and I are here to provide just a quick update on the volunteer driver program and the work that we've done to date and kind of next steps for the project. So just quick intros again. Grace and I have been working on this for the past couple of months. And it's been, a really big learning process and really interesting. So essentially the project is being developed to meet kind of the transportation needs of the more rural areas, the more mountain communities of Boulder County. So it's looking to kind of offer a sustainable mobility solution that supports aging in place and enhancing kind of community connectivity in the area. So the different elements of the project include kind of 7 tasks essentially. So we began with a lit review to kind of look at best practices, case studies, different precedents from across the country to see what is working and what isn't working, and kind of lessons learned from other agencies and other organizations. We've also been conducting stakeholder interviews to kind of get some real world knowledge on what works and how to kind of get these programs started. We've also been developing a framework development, so kind of the structure, formalizing the program itself. And that's currently where we are in the project, and we're looking to then kind of fill that in with an implementation plan. So looking at kind of specific recommendations, performance metrics, kind of timelines for when those recommendations should be in place, and then creating some documentation and training materials. So whoever is kind of taking the lead on this after the project is done has the right information to kind of keep it going. And then looking at building out kind of that evaluation and reporting documentation as well. And we'll wrap this up kind of in a nice looking final report. So it's hopefully digestible to a lot of different audiences. So we have come up with a couple mission statement options. I believe these were the 2 that kind of that people were most interested in, but we wanted you all to please vote in the chat to see if there's one specific one that kind of that you like more. We have one that's a little bit longer. So I'll read it out loud. So to provide safe and friendly transportation, connecting mountain communities and helping riders travel with comfort, dignity, and ease. And we have kind of a more condensed one to connect mountain communities with dependable transportation services. So we want to make sure that, the mission statement is kind of chosen, selected by you all, and see what fits for the program. I can't see the votes in the chat, but hopefully you're all voting and we can discuss afterwards.
Not yet, so can you leave that up a little bit longer?
Oh, yes, of course.
I can also place them both in the chat.
Perfect. Okay. And then just to kind of provide a quick overview of the lit review, we looked at essentially kind of 7 case studies, kind of more in depth, and then looked at 5 others that focus more on kind of rural or technology specific considerations. So a little, I think around 12 different case studies were reviewed. And I think 3 kind of major topics came out of it, or lessons learned came out of it. So community engagement, kind of tapping into local networks and existing networks that community members already utilize. It's incredibly important, related to that word of mouth, and just kind of a sense of purpose, encouraging that kind of sentiment to recruit drivers is incredibly helpful. For volunteer retention strategies, offering flexible scheduling, that was a huge one that was mentioned, I think, in all of the successful case studies, just allowing people to kind of have autonomy over their own schedule. And so it still kind of feels like a volunteer experience and not something that they're obligated to do. Fostering relationships and just kind of appreciation for drivers was another big component of being able to retain a lot of volunteer drivers. And then actually involving the drivers in outreach was also pretty effective. So that was recommended. And then just using technology in kind of the best way that kind of fits the community and the program. So using scheduling tools for coordination, both for the rider or the driver, that may not work for some communities. So maybe using a mix of like hard copy applications with some kind of scheduling software in the background, just kind of finding the right balance of technology for that specific community was kind of a huge lessons learned for a lot of organizations. And then I think kind of a big part of this presentation will be the program framework that we've been developing. This is kind of the more substantial kind of part of the project that we've kind of worked on, and that's kind of split into 7 major sections. So we're going to go through kind of the program foundation. We looked at kind of volunteer recruitment strategies again and kind of formalizing those, looking at processes for volunteer screening, onboarding and training, and looking at ride coordination systems, retention and volunteer support. So kind of bringing in that lit review, documentation that we had already done, and then some of the kind of logistical details of risk management, safety protocols, insurance, and then program improvement and sustainability are what we close with, just to kind of ensure that beyond this first year, the 5 years, the 10 years, how do we keep this program funded? How does it remain sustainable over time? I think with that, I'll hand it over to Grace.
Yeah, thank you, Rocio. So as Rocio said, we've really been focusing on building this program kind of from the ground up. So some of the program logistics we've been thinking about, for one thing, our plan is to operate Monday through Friday, with the first ride starting at 8 a.m. and the last ride starting at 4 p.m. There's been some talk of potentially limiting that a little bit more, potentially on the same days that Mountain Rides operates, only on those days. But I think we have decided we'll try Monday through Friday, just so we can really cover all the different times that someone might have a medical appointment or that sort of thing. Rides will be canceled, as you can see here, with the school district. We will make sure that volunteers pass a driving records and background check, and they will be driving their personally owned vehicles. Rides will be provided to seniors and adults with disabilities. And there may be some special circumstances where we provide rides to other adults, but probably not to children. And the service will be expanded into new fire districts as soon as we have at least 2 volunteers living in that district. So as you can see here, phase 1 will begin with the Nederland Fire District only, as that's where we do have a few volunteers recruited. And we will be making exceptions on a case-by-case basis, and we'll have a rider interest form that people can fill out, and anyone is welcome to fill out that form. Next slide, please. Here's a list of just different potential partners and associations for recruitment. I've spoken already with a lot of these groups, and we're just always looking for people to partner with. I've been working really closely with Berthoud Raft, and they mentioned how they just try to partner with everyone that they can, and that's kind of the vision we have too, that anyone's welcome to partner with us. Next slide. Some recruitment incentives we've been thinking of. For one thing, we'll definitely be providing mileage reimbursement for each ride that is provided by a volunteer. There will be some tax deduction options, especially, you know, a lot of volunteer drivers and other programs we've heard will donate that mileage reimbursement back to the program, in which case you'll definitely be able to do a tax write-off. We'll definitely be emphasizing purpose and impact, using storytelling, as you can see here, and making sure, you know, it sounds like people really care about these programs that are in their own communities. They love that they're doing good for their neighbors. So we really want to focus on that storytelling and show how much of an impact people are making. And then also, as Rocio said, we will be allowing volunteers to set their own schedules. I have heard a little bit of some people will allow volunteers to just pick and choose rides throughout the week. Some programs, a volunteer might have a shift each week. So we're working out, we might do a little hybrid version of both of those options potentially. And yes, so like I said, we've been thinking a lot about volunteer recruitment as well as volunteer onboarding and retention. We're currently building out our onboarding process, and we'll be hopefully onboarding a couple volunteers later this month. Tom is one of them, and I'm really excited to be working with Tom soon. But yeah, so the onboarding process will include the volunteers will receive a welcome packet with car magnets, name tags, copies of all these different documents we've been working on, such as accident report forms. The orientation will include a vehicle inspection just to make sure that each volunteer's car is something that would be comfortable for the riders to ride in. We will do a detailed review of the driver handbook, and there will be information on a lot of different types of training as well. We've looked into some, of course, you know, defensive driving trainings, CPR trainings, lots of different kinds of training. So we're going to offer a lot of different things there. And yes, I'm going to actually be going through Saint is a Loveland's volunteer driver program, and they are going to let me do their onboarding process later in June. So I'm really excited to work with them soon as well. And Saint has been around for 40 years now with their volunteer driver program. So they've been really awesome and just an inspiration for us, for sure. And I've also heard the importance of stable staffing and making sure that the volunteers have a familiar face to talk to as they're working through the program. Sorry about that. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so like I said, I've been talking to a lot of different programs. There are a really impressive number of successful volunteer driver programs out there. Everyone's been extremely helpful that I've been speaking with. They've been sharing lots of knowledge, sharing what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, their handbooks and whatnot. So they've been awesome. Here are a few people I've spoken with and kind of some key takeaways from each of those. One of the first people I talked with was Raft, and their main piece of advice was to start small because there will be such a huge demand for this. And that's kind of why we decided to start just in the Nederland Fire District and just be filling in gaps where we can. They use an app called Spedsta for volunteer management, and it does a really good job of tracking mileage. It's specifically kind of for volunteer drivers. So most likely that's the technology we're going to be going with. They also have a phone system that dispatchers can use and a lot of great training materials. Another program I've been speaking with is Bet's Go at Cultivate. They have a custom database that was built for them. So I've also been speaking with their developer. Potentially we might work with that instead of SpedSta, but we'll see. And they really spoke to the importance of these specialized trainings, such as working with different kinds of people, maybe a training with kind of sensitivity trainings was something they really focused on. So looking forward to being able to offer that to our people. Saint, again, is another great partner. They are one that does shifts instead of letting people choose, throughout the week. And they said that that made it a lot easier to track data, such as missed rides and that sort of thing. So going to probably play around with whether we do a kind of a shift or choose your schedule, and we'll see what our volunteers prefer. Another thing they mentioned was the importance of partnership, and especially their partnership with the Area Agency on Aging, because that agency is so familiar with the different codes and laws that need to be shown in our policies. So Reba, I've been speaking with Emily a little bit, so I'll definitely be speaking with you all at Nederland Area Seniors very soon.
Oh yeah, we're going to try to meet with you soon, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. I had kind of a lot come up last week, so
I
we're gonna
understand.
make that happen soon. But y'all have been already super helpful, and I'm excited to learn more from you all. Next slide. So as far as risk management and safety protocols, we have in our volunteer driver handbook already extensive incident response procedures. We'll be including a little handout, printout of those response procedures in the welcome packet. So if there ever was a time where our volunteer driver was in an emergency, they would just know exactly what to do and have that written out right away. We will be making sure that our volunteers have workers' comp coverage. They will each have to have, of course, their own personal insurance, and then we will be providing secondary insurance coverage for the drivers. That's one place we've had a little bit of a block. Most of these programs are nonprofits already, so they're able to get this nonprofit insurance, but we're working through some things there, and hopefully we'll be clear on that soon. And then, of course, rider confidentiality will be very important. We will make sure our volunteers understand how to keep everything private. We have some ideas from Saint about including a step stool and a collapsible balance bar in the driver's welcome packet. So going to look into any liability around those items just in case, but really want to make sure our drivers are prepped to support the riders that they're picking up. Next slide, please. And then as far as marketing goes, we have a few different outreach channels we're looking into. Like I said, we'll be sending out a weekly newsletter to all the volunteers and anyone else on our list. We do have a couple different mailing lists I think we might have access to, and I've already been collecting some emails from some of you all and other people in the community. We'll be setting up social media accounts. We'll be available at some of the Nederland town talks. We'll have some articles in the Mountaineer. We are keeping print marketing in Nederland for now, but would love to spread the word more widely as soon as we have those volunteers in those different communities. And yeah, just going to look at all the different ways we can get the word out there. We'll have a landing page with a logo towards the end of next month. And then I'll be at the Nederland Farmers Market on these dates. And if anyone would like to join me, I'd love to have you there. So thank you so much. And I think Rocio is going to finish up.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. So just want to kind of finish off with some of the, a little bit more of the technical kind of performance measures that we've come up with that are kind of embedded within the framework, the program framework. And this is just kind of specific sections that we highlighted. So this isn't the comprehensive table that we've developed, but we're looking at kind of categorizing specific performance measures. So you can see here under service or program experience. And these are kind of considerations for numbers. They don't have to be kind of the final numbers, but just kind of a place to start with. And then looking at when those performance measures would be evaluated. And then this will be kind of more built out with a little bit more detail within the implementation plan. So more to come on that. And then in terms of funding strategies, we've also included this within the program framework. So looking at kind of what opportunities exist to make sure that this program can keep going and providing those mobility options for different communities. So again, this is just a snapshot, not the comprehensive table we've come up with, but we essentially have kind of a list of the grant programs on the left-hand side, whether it's kind of a federal or state funding opportunity, and kind of the type of funding opportunity, whether it's competitive or formula funded, and then kind of typically when the opportunity kind of comes out, so the NOFO. And then on the right-hand side, we have a little bit more detail on kind of the specifics of the grant program and a little bit of information on kind of eligibility of kind of applicants and then also projects. And then in terms of next steps, we are here where this little check mark is. So kind of hopefully wrapping up the framework and then kind of starting on that implementation plan, adding more detail to that, and then getting started on the training documentation and then more of the evaluation and reporting that I think a lot of it will come from the implementation plan. And then wrapping up the project towards the end of June, June 30th. So I believe this may be the last slide. Yeah. Thank you all for for letting us present here, and excited to hear kind of any thoughts or comments.
Thank you all. I unfortunately, my computer restarted, so I lost access to the chat, but I think that number 1 was at the top of everybody's list for the mission statements.
I think so.
Yeah. So I think that at least for me personally, I liked the addition of the friendly.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if that's, it just seemed a little bit more welcoming. Anybody want to talk about their like number 2, if they have a case to make for number 2?
I will. You go ahead, Tom. You go ahead.
Yeah, I think dependable should go without saying. We're not
Mhm.
promoting undependable.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't build a statement around it.
Totally. Yes, and I think that the number 1 really spoke to Rocio and myself, especially with the dignity word. I do think it's a little long-winded, I will say, which was what I liked about the second one, but I think maybe mission statements should be a working evolving piece of documentation. So I think we'll kind of use both of those. But I agree. I think the first one, talking about friendly, talking about dignity, really speaks to the vision of the program.
Anybody else want to chime in on the mission statement? Okay.
And we'd be happy to have any questions if anybody has any other thoughts or any concerns that came up as we were speaking. Or if you're interested in volunteering, I'll take your email address and add you to the list.
Grace, this is a question that came up last week when you presented at NEPIDAC, and it
Mhm.
just is good for people to know. Would you speak to the age limits and
Yes.
younger age groups?
So like I mentioned just briefly, we will be focusing on seniors and adults with disabilities. As much as we'd love to include children, there is some extra liability around that, especially for children younger than 8. It sounds like the programs in the area do not allow children younger than 8 because they need a booster seat. And there's some liability, these drivers don't have a booster seat, or installing the booster seat in that kind of like quick time just feels a little dangerous. So definitely no children under 8. There's a chance we would allow, children between 9 and 18 to ride with a guardian. But we really, this program is mostly focused on seniors and adults with disabilities for sure. But thank you for that question, Nick. That's helpful.
So if you all had an adult that did not have an obvious disability, but did not have any other transportation option, would you all make exceptions for them, or Like, how would it be a rejection and you just track it? How would you all handle that?
I think we would definitely make exceptions. I think that there are probably a lot of adults in the mountain area that may not have a obvious disability, but are still isolated, still have places they need to go. So I think we would certainly make exceptions for that. I know Saint will do rides for adults to special things. Like, for example, La Familia offers classes to Spanish speaking adults who need a little extra help understanding technology or even RTD routes. We'd love to partner with someone like La Familia, and in that case, we would anyone who needed that service. So if there was kind of like a service for adults like that, we would certainly offer rides to that. And I feel like we're going to be making.
Oh no. Did you all lose Grace as well, or is it just okay?
Yep.
Well, technology.
It's good old mountain
I
television.
know it really, yeah. Net has its moments, doesn't it?
So you said that
Uh,
you would make an exception for like La Familia or something like that.
Yeah, I think that this program is going to be one that, in at least this first phase, really just wants to serve the community in the way that it's needed. And I feel like there are going to be several occasions where we would be making those exceptions. So yes, I think especially in, you know, that's the case of a special class or that sort of thing, we would be making exceptions for that.
Yeah. And I guess there's also like, what is the program like limitations or eligibility requirements versus who are you targeting and who are you marketing to, right? So um, I don't know if there's that distinction that you're making, right? Like it's open to all adults, but like you'll be targeting older adults
Right.
and people with disabilities.
Yes, that would be the target. And there might be, I know that a lot of these programs, some of them will operate kind of first come, first serve. However, they will, and we will do this as well, have a ride limit for the month so that somebody can't just like get in and book 50 rides for the month. Saint does 3 rides per week is the limit. But yes, I think another thing that a lot of these programs do is doctor's appointments will take precedence over other things. So it'll be mostly first come, first serve, but there will be some things, especially with our limited number of volunteers, that we do need to prioritize over other kinds of rides.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Reba?
Thanks. I had a quick question. Grace, I'm sure you guys are probably already looking into all this since you're communicating with AAA. But I know in particular with our volunteer drivers that deliver meals that they cannot even go into the participant's home, our client's home, unless we got sexual, like we had to increase our insurance with sexual abuse stuff. So my question is related to like that kind of security with our older adults being in cars with one other individual that's an adult, and safety aspects and like what kind of background checks you're doing towards those efforts, and are you working
Totally.
with Boulder County with that?
That's a great question. And that's something that I really thought about a lot as I was speaking with Saint. Like I mentioned, they work really closely with their area agency on aging, and they kind of rely on them to make sure that they're doing those things. So each year they submit their policies through the area agency on aging to be audited. So they're really every year making, for the past however many years they've been around for 40. I'm not sure how long they've been partnered with the agency on aging, but they do rely pretty heavily on them to make sure that they are following those guidelines. But we like I said, we do have a little the insurance piece is the last thing that we really are struggling with because so many of these programs are nonprofits. We've been advised to maybe try to fall under a nonprofit. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there, but the background checks will be, I think, as detailed as they can possibly be for that reason, so that we make sure that anyone that is in these cars is safe. I mean, I see this being a very extreme vetting process that we would make sure that anybody volunteering is going to be a safe individual for these people to ride with. But yeah, I love that you brought that up, and because it's so important. And like I said, Saints mentioned how they didn't really have like neglect stuff in their
Mhm.
handbook, for example, and the
Right.
area agency on aging really helped them nail that down and explain to their volunteers what it means. So yeah, like I said, they lean on them a lot. I'd love to partner with you all for you to help us make sure that we're covering all of our bases there, because that just would be a great partnership, and we definitely want to make sure that everyone's safe and protected. But yeah, definitely the deepest background checks that we can possibly do.
Great.
Thank you for that.
So one thing, just to kind of follow up when we were talking about like exceptions for maybe adults that aren't, don't have a disability or aren't older adults. I know that the Netherland Food Pantry, you all have volunteers, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't know, there's probably some synergies there, like with the Netherland Food Pantry and like working families that maybe wouldn't fall into your like into the definition of disability. So I don't know, Tom, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, if we need a sponsoring agency, we'd be open to talking about that. I introduced Grace to some of our team to talk about scheduling software, volunteer software, and so on. But we certainly could be a sponsoring entity. We're doing it with Peak to Peak Housing and HHS. So there's
That would be
precedent.
awesome. I'll talk with
And
you about that, Tom.
yeah,
And I
We're
think,
also, Ned Seniors is also open for those conversations too.
Awesome.
great.
yeah.
That would be lovely. Yeah, I'll be connecting with both of you on that, certainly. Certainly. And the food pantry has been extremely helpful. I spoke with Kendra the other day when I was at the NEPADAC meeting last week. Tom had spoken with the library folks, and it sounds like they're open to helping potentially do some dispatch, but definitely helping riders understand the technology. And I will say most programs, the technology is for the volunteers. The riders usually call in or fill out the form or email. They try to keep it pretty straightforward, not really bringing the riders into that technology. But there will be opportunity for training if something like that is necessary.
I know, Joni, you probably, I don't know if you're on your phone or if you, I know you don't have a camera, but you know, the Hour Center serves Aspinwall in the northern portion. I don't know if you have anything with like the expansion, any feedback that you want to make sure that the team hears, Joni?
Well, I mean, it's very exciting. The plan that you outlined, I can tell, very well and thoroughly thought out and researched. So that was very interesting. Yeah, I mean, and I get it. I think the funding is based in Netherlands, and so I understand why you have to focus on that area to begin with. We still experience issues for people between Allens Park and Lyons in that area, and so you know, just as long as they're kept in mind, should
totally
you get some magical funding in the future that would allow you to expand the program, things of that nature. Until then, Isaac, who is a case manager who works for the Hour Center, but he lives outside of Lyons and he serves that, you know, the Lyons to Allens Park corridor. He has his hands on some gas cards and things like that. I know that doesn't help people that are isolated without transportation, but he's at least able to do something, you know, to help people if they have a vehicle, for example. So anyhow, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. And just to clarify, the funding source doesn't currently limit it to Netherlands because the funding source is like just general county dollars that Mobility for All is contributing. It's more of like the feasibility of expanding and making sure that we don't get out ahead of the need doesn't get out ahead of, or the demand doesn't get out ahead of like what we can actually meet, right? So I think we've kind of informally, and I missed last meeting with Rocio and Grace, sorry about that. But we talked about maybe once there's a certain threshold of volunteers within a community, then the program could expand to that community. So we initially said maybe like if they have 2 volunteers, then it could expand to that community if you can identify 2 volunteers that could pass the process.
Okay,
Exactly.
I'll let Isaac know and see if he has any ideas on how to get the word out there. Thank you,
Johnny. Thank you so much for bringing that up. The vision of this program is it's peak to peak. You know, it's not just Nederland. It's just that since kind of the centralized support of the program and the volunteers we found are in the Nederland Fire District, that just made sense to us to kind of start in that iterative place. But I don't think it would be expensive, more expensive to support the volunteers if there were a volunteer who lives over there. You know, I think it would just be if Tom or any of our other volunteers are driving all the way there, that would be more of a mileage reimbursement than you might normally get. But I would say that I think our idea is that if there are two volunteers who feel comfortable serving that district, then that district will be a part of the program.
Yeah, I talked this morning with the folks over at Clinica and told them that this was coming and talked with them about mountain ride service expansion too. And
Awesome.
they, there, as you know, we're open in Nederland for 3 days a week and 3 days a week over in Gilpin. So I could see crossing the county line if they need to go to the doctor on one of those days. Is there a
Totally.
problem with going over the line
Not
into
in my
another
opinion.
county?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I see a question from Natalie in the chat too, talking about taking people to ride the bus, for example, and we will certainly not be in the way of the bus. I will make sure that our volunteers are trained to not do that. But yes, I think that would be, especially in this first phase, a really great aspect of this program is just kind of filling in the gaps of those different services that exist now.
Yeah.
Potentially, you know, getting someone from Gold Hill up to Ward, that would be awesome, so that they can grab the mountain rides, come down to Nederland. I did a ride along with Mountain Rides the other day, and it's such a great service. The guys, the people who drive are awesome, and just really, really patient and helpful with their riders. So yes, I think that would certainly be an option as long as the rider is comfortable with that. We don't want there to be a situation where, you know, a driver drops a rider off, they get on the bus, and then they feel a little lost or unsure of what to do next. So that's the only thing that we want to make sure we're not hitting. You know, if the rider's like, oh yeah, I can just take me to the bus, I'm good, then that would be a great part of the service, I think.
Yeah, the libraries also offered to be a buffer with a nice warm fireplace between the intramodals.
That's awesome. Yeah, they've just been really, really willing to help, and it's a great group of people over there. So we're excited to have them as a partner as well.
Well, I just want to thank you both for giving the presentation. It's great to see it coming so far after us working on it for such a while, a long time.
You've been working on it for a really long time, Angel. We appreciate you too.
We've been trying to keep it on the front burner, but it's been challenging with COVID and everything.
It goes back to just pre-COVID, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. We wrapped it up, we wrapped up the study in 2020, and then at that point we just couldn't, their volunteer driver programs were very successful, and there was volunteer fatigue with some of the pharmacy delivery volunteers, people would help and bring food. So it just didn't seem like a good time. And then mountain rides was such a big portion of our effort for the Mountain Mobility Working Group. And we finally got that in a really good place. We're really proud of that with VIA, that partnership with VIA. And, you know, Lisa and Bob did so much to get that back up to 3 days. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
It was just great timing wise. And it's good to see tangible results in improving mobility in the mountains.
100%. One interesting note from Saint on the note of COVID messing things up. In 2018, they were able to provide 31,000 rides in that year. This year, they're 10,000 rides down still. They're building things up, but just to mention, they've been in business for 40 years, and even they were really heavily impacted by COVID. So that was not good.
So I know that we have about 2-3 minutes left. Does anybody have any quick updates that they want to share? I know Jessica had budgeted 10 minutes for this, but I did not keep us on track.
Sorry about that.
Bob and Lisa, do you want me to say something, or do you want to take it?
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let them know.
I took my my ride with mountain rides last week and enjoyed it just as much, Grace. It was a chance to talk with people who ride the service, and I asked what they'd like to see more than anything. And what I got back without prompting was Saturday service. So Bob And the VIA team, we talked about this yesterday and swung into action. We're finding our way. I think we're there to resume or to add a Saturday service starting on June 7th. We've got a driver identified. I'm working with NEPADAC to plug in some of the financing or the last mile of financing. And I'd like to get that one started. I think it's going to help with getting people to the Netherland Food Pantry. That's the biggest day to get them. The biggest stop when I looked at Bob's numbers was the BNF market. So people come in for market day on Saturdays, doctor's appointments and everything else in connecting with the bus to go either into the mountains for the Hessie ride and hiking or go the other direction down to Boulder to finish the shopping. So the other thing we took a look at, the NEPADAC team funded a Netherland Extra at 5:10 p.m. from downtown downtown Boulder up to Ned to take care of initially high school kids who were stuck with this 2-hour schedule hole. I got stuck in that 2-hour schedule hole on Friday afternoon, and thank goodness it was the last ride and I got it. And I got a chance to talk with some folks on there and heard a pretty solid request to continue the service through the summer. So I'm working with Landon and the NEPADAC board on trying to extend that through the summer. I think the students may drop off, but there's a lot of people that want to come up or want to go down and shop on Saturday morning, and that 2-hour hole would have had me sitting in Boulder for a lot longer than I would have liked. And I found out I wasn't alone.
So that's great news. So just to clarify, is the Saturday service the third day, or are you funding, or is the NEPADAC
It's the fourth day.
Fourth day? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
we're not shifting, we're adding.
That's amazing news.
Yeah, Bob's numbers showed that through word of mouth without any real promotion, that Sunday or the Monday run filled up pretty quickly. We're getting good ridership there.
That's great. And I wasn't able to like type and talk at the same time. So I don't know if you could send me an email so I could include it in the
I'll make sure I do.
Yeah. Don't tell Jessica, but I'm not very good at like, talking and typing at the same time. So
Well, the clinic of this morning, it was nice for the first time to have her put her phone down and say, "You don't mind if I let my AI transcriber take everything so I can talk to you?"
Yeah, that's great. Well, go ahead, Lisa.
Angel, be some money from CASTA for the clean air. So we are going to do that. Part of how we can do this up in Ned on Saturday. We're going to do weekend service for Saturday up in Ned. We're also going to do weekend service in Boulder County, the Denver Metro, Weld County, and Carbon Valley for Saturday and Sunday 9 to 4 from June 1st to August 31st. And we're going to be fare free for the weekday for the whole summer for everywhere that we serve. So
it was just the experience on the bus is so nice. It's well equipped, it's comfortable. The drivers are incredibly helpful to some people that need help sometimes and accommodating. And I just the bus going from there right onto an RTD bus. I wish all the RTD buses were as clean and detailed as the one I rode on with VIA. It was really fun.
That's great. So just to clarify, the extra day of service for Saturday goes from June 1st to August 31st.
It goes from June 7th because that's the first Saturday.
Got it.
Till August 31st. We're going to try it for the summer. Tom's going to get some local match to help us out because it's 20% match of what we got. And then we'll see at that time, we'll look and see how it did, how successful it was, and then we'll discuss further to see, do we keep it going?
Okay, that's wonderful. And I'm not sure, Lisa, how much you all are plugged into the CTE, the Clean Transit Enterprise funds. their formula funds, but I think that VIA is scheduled to get some of those formula funds.
Yeah.
Bye, Natalie.
Yeah.
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 I just
I
put
don't-
it in a
I don't
message in the chat real quick regarding the NB. If you need anything else, let me know. Thanks for filling in the holes. We appreciate
bet.
that. I couldn't get that extra bus. I got it for August. So for August, we're going to hourly. Cool. Okay,
That's great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Natalie, for joining us.
no problem. Thank you. I'll see you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm sure we're plugged into that. Angel, that's sort of not my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Tell me what I can do and what money I get and how I can make it work. So we'll see what that turns into.
yeah. That's
And
great.
thanks to the VIA team for, I mean, we just thought this up this week and we got this far this fast.
Yeah. That's one thing. VIA is definitely responsive and we appreciate your partnership. You all are like always trying to find solutions to things, and it's just really refreshing to see like how quickly you all can get mobility options out into the community.
I will tell you this, the Saturday driver is going to be Lori Booth. She's
Oh.
been up there for a long time, and she was going to be one of the heroes that
Yeah.
that'll be acknowledged later on at the luncheon.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
great.
great.
She's a great driver, great person, as Dennis is also.
Yeah.
Tom rode with.
I do, I think so. People who are relatively new, we have the Mobility Heroes Luncheon on October 15th. So if you don't have it on your calendar, I can send it out to hold so that you all can attend that and help celebrate Miss Booth.
Great.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all your time. And I will try to fill in the minutes. And then I think Jessica's going to upload the video recording tomorrow.
Great.
And then we'll send out a follow-up email. But if you, Tom, if you could send me your, like how the NEPADAC interacts with the VIA portion. I think I got the VIA zero fare for better air portion in the notes.
Yep. I captured that and I'll get you an email in 5 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you all. And so we'll see you next month. Thank you, Rocio and Grace, for all your hard work on the plan, and I will provide comments. Oh, Nick, sorry.
Angel, sorry for I know we're running way over. I just wanted to tell everybody that the Vision Zero Action Plan final draft is now live on Boulder County's website. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. As you all know, Boulder County is committed to zero fatal and serious collisions on our roadways, ideally zero by 2035, if not sooner. So please feel free to review that plan. And there's a survey where you are welcome to leave comments. Also, as we've talked about, the Hessie Shuttle is now live through the summer. So please take that up from Ned High School to the trailhead and enjoy. Once again, those links are in the chat.
Thanks,
And I'll
Nick.
put those in the minutes.
Well done, Angel. For an
Thanks,
amateur.
Everybody.
For an amateur.
Thank you, Angel.
Jessica,
Thank you all.
let me be in charge again.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.